Okay, let's just be patient with it this time, shall we? I'm just going to wait a good 30 seconds before we think it's not working. Because it looks like it is working, doesn't it?
So let's go back to there. So it's got to come on there first, anyway.
Of course it has.
Right, excellent.
Well, that's on. That's fine. It just hasn't reached just yet.
No.
I think we're just perhaps being a bit impatient on it.
Just going to do that.
It's looking good anyway.
It's absolutely fine. This is kind of when you almost want another PC set up rather than the phone.
Yeah, because you could have another PC, not
Just run it
separately.
But if you were doing that, you could then listen. I mean, that gives you your audio, but you could have somebody watching the stream in here. Yes, there would be a time delay, but then they could be checking the volume on here. They are for your channel.
This is my husband Bob, this is Lauren.
Hello, Lauren, you're right, and you?
Very well. So let's put this stuff in here.
It says it's live.
Hello, you're right, and you? Excellent.
It's all running.
We're working.
Yeah, we're just being impatient. It takes 30 to 40 seconds from sending it to then bouncing it back round.
With these, we just turn them on a little bit, don't we?
About halfway.
Well, it was a good halfway. It might have been even 7 or 8 o'clock.
Right, yeah.
But don't overdrive that.
You can still do it on there anyway. Yeah.
And then, so you know, that if you put a standard pair of headphones in here, stereo pair of headphones, somebody can be listening to the volume people who are watching the stream are actually hearing.
Right.
So if somebody's talking quietly, it might be loud enough in here, but it might not be loud enough on the stream. So you could have somebody on the red dials here just monitoring the stream volume for everybody, because that's going to be very different to what you're hearing in here. Because you might have turned the microphone.
I've got it on mine.
Yeah, it's all running beautifully.
Excellent.
All running beautifully.
Good.
Excellent. Okay, we'll go around for a cup of tea in a minute. Well, I mean, that's a real. I'm really chuffed about that. I mean, that's. I'm particularly chuffed that you're solving some of the issues there, and it is all about the order that you connect it up.
Well, that yesterday it really helped actually. So, and it was just this.
Well, the guy who's receiving it, he's chuffed to bits with it. He had one years ago, sold it, regretted it, and is thrilled to have one back.
Oh, right, so we've sold it already?
Yeah, well, basically, you've had that, and I've taken the 2 things away to sell. So I've just done you a swap, Jeff.
That's brilliant.
So I've just got the mix and sell, and that will go as well. So
excellent.
There's no loss of money anywhere around.
Well, we're leaving 3 air conditioning units on. Yeah, we won't
1
have
and 2 aren't on at the moment.
Aren't they?
They were all wrapped up.
Because you turned them off earlier, didn't you?
And have you got them on auto at this time of year?
No, 3 are on.
Oh,
So Jeff, at this time of year, rather than heat and cool, it's like your climate control. So if the sun hits, and then instead of just shutting off, they will bring it back down to 20 or whatever you choose, and then bring it back up. So mine at home are on auto at the minute.
Right.
Amazingly, Bob, it still works on my phone, and I'm a bit reluctant to remove it. To be honest, it's like it's kind of okay. So in case there's a problem,
No, we'll leave it. Well,
I mean, it's just an app on my phone. I'll just leave it for now.
Well, what's supposed to have been happening, and I went back to Ian and supplied him with all the addresses that had been tried. Mitsubishi were then going to take them all off the app, other than mine.
They don't seem able to sort it, do they?
And I haven't heard from him, so I've got to chase him again.
Well, I said to him, I did say to him, I said, don't ask me to program Mitsubishi in the future, because I'm absolute. So Fujitsu, my one's at home, jump straight on, lovely app, super easy.
Hello.
That's good.
She wants this switched on while she's at the front, doesn't she?
You want them on live, and then just take them down on the blue dials. So to have those, yeah, but don't forget that you put that right on your mouth, and it's going to be on the lapel.
It's going to be there.
So clip it on your.
It's not for me.
Shirt. No, but clip it on your shirt pocket, and then we can tweak the volume up there, because it needs to be higher on the gain there. If you turn the volume, I'd turn that volume up to about 9 or 10 o'clock on that. What number's that, Bob? Okay. Yeah, turn it up a bit on there first. Turn it up full and then back it off to 10 o'clock.
That's on full.
Right, that's on full. Right, so back it off a bit. So if you think full as 12 o'clock,
Okay.
back it off on there, and I'll bring it up on here.
It's 9:45.
Right, okay, 9:45. Right, go on then.
9:45. I noticed the placards are coming out, but I'm not getting anything. So, not even a cup of coffee.
That sounds right. You've got more. You can bring it up on the dial here anyway if you need to.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Right.
Which said, tell me about, I looked it up there. And she said she dance teachers come, but they're finishing now, so she shouldn't be there. No, she shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I've blocked her in anyway.
Yeah. If she comes in the next few minutes, we might have to have.
Wheel clamps next time.
I've put the notice, my library notice, in the front. And I've told Phil said, just come like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did.
Can I do this one as well?
Yeah. I've just turned that down. In case you were visiting the loo, I just turned that one down. I know. Is that number 4?
This one's on full, is it?
Yeah. No, is that number 4?
This is number 4.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try that one then. Bob, put it on your shirt. Put it on your shirt pocket. You can. Yeah. Yeah. I hope so.
I know, you haven't been here
Right.
for summer.
So put that on full and then back it off a bit.
Good on you. I think I'd do the same if I was in that position, to be honest.
As long as it's roughly sort of 4 or 5 inches away from your mouth, that's fine.
Well, just today when I actually, it's not very often I look at the weather today.
Right.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
word,
so-
that's well out of date.
And I'll back it off a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Even I wasn't on it.
That's,
So,
yeah, about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Have them both the same, and then we'll tweak it this end.
Yeah, okay.
So I quickly printed.
So I've turned them down here now, so you can give them.
It's all in.
I'd switch them off for 20 minutes at least.
And it was the weirdest colour. I thought, well, I've just got it. So that's what I did. But it's greyed out.
So if you turn them off for now, look, just to get the volume you need, you can safely on 3 and 4 now. I've adjusted these up a bit, the input volumes.
Yeah.
So you can safely go to about 1 o'clock without any nasty noises. I had it about 12, but if you need any more, you can take them up to there quite safely.
Yeah.
Alright?
Yep.
And your handhelds, do you want to just test those?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, okay.
I hope this is worth it. This is your sense of confidence.
Oh, are you? Oh, right, okay. That's why I'm here, because he's not here. He was supposed to come and was his business partner of mine now. We work together. So when he's not doing music, he does this with me. Yeah, 50%. What number is it?
This is mic 1. This is mic 1.
Yeah, it's fine.
Mic 1, yeah?
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
But mic 2, mic 2.
fine. Yeah. Hey, he seems to think it's starting all right.
Quiet.
Yeah. I know I'm his dad, but yeah, I think he's probably his dad. We saw him conduct. He's left the impact.
Oh, has he? Oh, does he?
Basically, stupid hours and stupid rubbish pay. Pointless. So, but I saw him conduct the Kettering Symphony Orchestra with the impact vocal arrangement. And he literally was conducting it. You know, beautiful choral conducting the orchestra with him. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. My dad would have loved it. Sadly, he died a long time ago. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. So, but no, he's from April. He's been working with me on and off casually. When he's been free, I've had a large job to do, and I had a friend working with me. But he's officially become a business partner from April. So he and I go out together. We go out separately doing jobs. So and he's the one who's practiced, not me. And we're basically new mixer tonight. and a direct stream out to YouTube. We've taken one bit of equipment out, and our business is replaced. They've given basically given that. Taking the stuff out and put it on eBay, and we've given them
Set up and working, it's properly working.
So yeah, Bob's pleased and relieved, and so am I. It's all good. It's all good. Well, Adam was supposed to be, he said, well, I can't do that. I've got choir, Dad. I said, well, I'll go do it.
I was watching something else on YouTube, and all of a sudden, Earls Barton Talks Books popped up and said, live stream. I went, oh,
Yes, it's absolutely on. Yeah, absolutely on.
so I was ear-rigging on what you were talking
No
about.
worries.
Come round and look at this, Claire.
Well, you're not
Because we can transition between the two.
So you can set your preview camera up while the other one's transmitting, and then when you've got it where you want it, you just press the space bar, and then it swaps them over. So if you want to change the angle, zoom in or out, you can do that without the stream seeing it, and then just go tab, and it flips them over.
I'm beginning to understand this, if I can. You can. which is more than I can say for the heating system.
Let me have a look on my app.
I'm going to put it back on again. I'm going to put my
What's
phone
yours
back.
called?
What's Rio
There's somewhere.
Link?
That's your cameras.
Oh,
Rio Link's cameras.
oh yeah. So
I
it
can't
is.
remember what your
Air Smart.
Air or something. Yeah,
Air Smart.
I can't find it. I know I've got it.
So we don't have to start live streaming, recording until we're ready to go, do we?
We're streaming.
For safety tonight, it's streaming now live.
Oh, okay.
It's not a scheduled one. We're just for safety to know before it's like going and have a cup of tea. We wanted to know it's all working.
Right.
So, but basically, yeah, if you schedule it, and the other thing is now, of course, you could have pictures. You could have a PowerPoint slide. You could drop that in as an extra. So you could have music playing.
Yeah.
You could have music playing to
So you could
people
do
waiting
some
online.
titles.
Yes, you could easily. So the other video controller, the ATEM, that's gone, and it's now being all controlled through OBS, and it's all set up for what you need now. And one of us come back and help you set up if you want to add anything else. You can add music in, you can have another HDMI, and also you can have somebody, if you plug your headphones here, you can have somebody monitoring the sound that's going on the live stream, not the sound in here. They're totally separate.
One at this end.
So if somebody's talking
somebody's
quietly
just said
in here,
he's
we can
a
say,
dance
okay,
teacher who's
somebody
doing a
needs to
dance
check,
lesson.
can they
I
hear
went
it
to
on the
school,
stream?
spoke to
And then they
Kato, he
relate
didn't
to the
say about
same
that. He just said there was a
So
good
blue is live
say
in
that
here.
there was a
Red
dance
is
class going on
streaming.
in there as well. But,
Okay.
and that's
then so your
finishing
blue
now.
volume has to be up
But,
through
so
here,
whether
that
she's going to
feeds
come
that
out in the next
system,
minute or two,
and then the red
but
goes out to stream.
takes behind her.
Because one of the things I want to talk to Bob about is taking the ones we've already got and editing the bits at the beginning.
You should be able to do that.
I
within
reckon I can do that.
Yeah.
you
And then
should be
titling
able to.
them, because at the moment on YouTube, because I've only gone onto it
Yeah.
by accident yesterday when you were live streaming.
Yeah, but if you go onto our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and go on to our live videos. No, your videos.
Yeah, there's your heating system.
Yeah,
You've got 3 on.
I've done
Auto
that. I've
19.
just done
Yeah, that's all working fine.
I've been taken turn the phone off and started it.
But auto's right because it will just keep it nice. It's like climate control.
Couldn't get it on my phone,
Right, so that's
I
the
know,
one.
tonight.
So that's
But
the
I
one.
daren't take it off mine
just in
just in case there's a Bob has a problem. Somebody else has to remotely
Yeah, I
deal
could
with it.
get 2 of them on, and then when I tried to link the third one,
I've got Fujitsu units at home. It's a doddle. Absolute doddle. These are really. It works. It's a great.
yeah, but it should be.
And did you go on and do the find unregistered air conditioners? Did you try that yet?
Yeah.
Right, so if you go onto our list of videos here,
Yeah.
and we've got an edit function here,
Okay.
and you can select
You
your
do that
video.
with YouTube, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if we could label them all as to who they are, get them, we could make. Yeah, I'll give you a hand with that.
I'm impressed.
This is the most techie library I know. It's brilliant. You know, when I visit other libraries, we do other jobs for other libraries. They go, oh, we've heard they've got this at Earls Barton.
£4 worth of 50p pieces.
Oh, cool.
I've got no 50s for the change of the price.
I like that live stream.
You can have £2 worth of 50s. You can have some 20s if you like.
Yeah, right. Okay. And then I'll need 2 10s as well. Because otherwise you can't give £7.50 change, can I?
There you go.
So how much have you just given me?
It's £4.
Set up
£4.
the OBS settings replicated.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue, you've got laptops. The other thing that is critical, Bob now knows, is the order you connect and the order that you switch on and switch off is critical.
We'll have to do a quick
Absolutely
idiot
critical,
sheet.
isn't it, Bob?
It is.
If you switch them on in the wrong order, it doesn't. And even the start streaming, you have to start it in YouTube, then go back to OBS, then start streaming, and then it connects up and says good connection, and away you go. But it literally is. I mean, in terms of finding out, I don't know why the camera was upside down, I can't explain that.
No, I can't either. It was weird. I said, I don't
But you
believe
sorted
that.
it, that's the best bit.
I did.
You sorted
yeah.
it, brilliant.
I didn't find it straight away, but
Jolly
I
pleased
did.
with yourself, quite right.
I did eventually find it.
I say,
It's a good picture, isn't it?
the quality of these cameras is superb.
It is.
Brilliant. We haven't got many of these in, but they are for the price they are. You could pay 4 times what you paid and not really notice much difference. It's like the rear link cameras. They're like the decent high-end Ford does the job that you want it to do.
Yeah.
It's not overly fancy, but it's good
It does the
and
job.
it's reliable. Yeah.
I tell you what, it's given it's nearly 7. It's not very promising for 40 people, is it?
If you sold the tickets, which you need to turn
No,
up.
to put an audience in, we've told the volunteers to come.
Oh, it's a rent a crowd.
Yeah, and they all said they would.
Right, okay.
Just hope they
Yeah.
stick to it.
Unfortunately, I can't. I've got a booked phone call with my daughter. You're looking good.
Yeah.
You're all good. You happy?
Yep.
Great. That's an important thing. And you relax about it and enjoy the evening. And now you know it's all working. But I do recommend you get another laptop and we clone it. And we clone the scenes and the settings. And when you're ready, when you want to add in pictures and you want to add in files, and
That's where
Yeah.
that's where Claire
yeah.
comes
But
in.
what we'll do then is we'll create some new scenes that include the other slides, and then you can just swap between the scenes. At the moment, you're only running one scene,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But as soon as you start adding in, so if you wanted to run credits or run some music, or you wanted to run a PowerPoint, you create another scene which would include that, and it might not include the live cameras. It might be, and you just go click that scene, and the only thing you have to do then is, if you want it, you replicate the audio in both scenes, so there's no disruption to the sound, whether it's music or live photos.
Yeah.
You can change the visual in a different scene.
That's where Claire's going to come in.
I'm just using this at the minute at home. I've got mine set up to take on VCR cassette videos, and I've got them coming into here with a same type of video capture card and an audio capture card into my mixing software, and I'm converting snippets of video into digital files via OBS. Really effective. It's brilliant, and it's free software. Bonkers. Which is probably where you sometimes get glitches that we can't work out because it's free. And
We used to have some software in a previous job that I had, and it was free, but I couldn't get my head around it. Because we used to have a green screen on the video, then put backgrounds on.
Oh,
But
yes.
it was so complicated, the software. It was like somebody showed me once, and it was like, no, can't do it.
Well, it's like Adam said, if he'd had some of that when he was teaching music in lockdown, that would have solved his audio. Absolutely. I'm going out your way.
Yep, okay.
So what I'll do, I'll sometime tomorrow I'll get my head around invoicing. There's only those few bits and parts, and I'll discount as heavily as I can the time that the content sorted. It's not going to be that much.
All right, it's appreciated anyway.
No, I know, and that's fine. We like to make sure you're happy that it all works and everything else. And as and when, if you want,
Can you give the girls the mics? Or shall I give the girls the mics?
You can give the girls a mic. They're not switched on at the moment.
We've got new batteries. You'd be good to turn them on. Well, you turn them on and then say to people, don't turn them off, and then you just control.
Yeah.
So,
So this is not looking good, Jeff. This is not looking good, is it?
Sorry?
This is not looking good, is it?
No, it's 7:30, but you know.
even Barton told me a bit slow.
But you know, a lot of volunteers said they were coming, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
It's a nice temperature. That's what I love about these units. It's cold.
We're gonna put a roller blind in that centre section there,
Oh right, okay.
and a backdrop.
Okay, yeah.
So, well, we decided not to when we first set it up because we thought, well, it's a library, it's good to have books at the back. You know,
You put up signs which don't take a lot of people. Very nice.
But you see, when you see the books in the background, it looks like a library.
Yeah, that's great. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy your cup of coffee.
I'll get that sorted for you, and let us know as and when about the cameras if you want them, and we'll sort something out and get that booked in for you.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Okay, somebody coming in.
All right, hope it goes all right.
Yeah, cheers, Lee. Okay, cheers, Lee.
I just did the worrying. One minute I chose to do waters at Redmond Monday morning and the radio silent for 24 hours.
So, all systems go.
So, yeah.
Got a few spaces in the car park still, so
Right.
might be
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
fob. I'll go back and see Phil in 5-10 minutes. We'll check if that might get the meters.
Is that John Weller? You've been sterling work on this.
Well, apart from that, I sent out a mistake on it today.
Well, that's very unusual. First time I've seen you send out something up with a mistake.
15 to 28.
Sandra! Hello. Are you alright? Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So,
Good. I am coming back to you today. It's just,
well, I hope so. That's it.
we had funerals and going up to Sheffield and all sorts happening. You okay there?
Yeah, not too bad, yeah.
Grab that in a second. So you have to have two, otherwise, you'll start feeling.
You managed to get it like this kind of
Shit, no.
I won't wait before you hand it over to me.
I know I was thinking I'd be really kind and prepare both rotors for you, before I go. And now I'm not going to do that. So the 18th.
Did you go? Oh, is this your? I was going to say, did you not? Because you got one. Is this your champagne Christmas box?
I haven't got one. It's just got is that one never gets money for it.
Yeah, okay.
That's still my rotor that can just go in the bin. Thank you.
Yes, next year. Boxes. Is that my water?
Oh, you're not on the hard stuff then?
I don't drink.
You're not? Right.
I don't like it.
It's funny you should say that. I was a wine connoisseur, and I then gave up drinking for a while. And I had a glass of red wine the other night. I didn't like it at all.
Never have done all my life. I don't know what it's like to have a hangover.
I do.
This is mine, isn't it? I just switch it on.
Yes. Just push it up. Make sure you get a green light.
I got green.
I need to know which one, who's got which mic.
We've still got about 5 car parking spaces outside, so I don't think we are going to need the.
Carla! Hello. You alright?
I'm alright, Bob. What's your role here?
Technician.
You're looking very official.
Well, I'm controlling the YouTube stuff here. So.
Oh, Jesus.
So.
The lady asked me about whether she's online.
Who's got the controllers for the? Who's got the controllers for the what? For the blinds?
Oh, the blind.
In the drawer, I would have thought.
They're not there.
Oh, they're here.
Can you put girls' mics on?
Right, you got yours switched on? Switched
On cards.
Lovely, thank you.
No problem.
Hello.
I'm trying to see what the movie is inside. Is it up? Is it up?
It's around somewhere. I'll be able to tell you what it is later. I might. It's here we go. Life between oceans.
Life between oceans. Well, it's
Yeah.
just leaving but the float amount is in the till, so we've just got a lot of people paid on. Would you come with me and
She's all mic'd up.
Yeah. So that mic will be yours when you want it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang on.
in here?
Yeah.
You can hear her here, but not.
It should be on. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Stream.
No,
It's
this
the other one.
Try
again, Kelly.
Hello.
Yay!
Good evening, everybody. I'm really welcome Lauren to the library. And also to welcome Suddenly on Chief Horace Daventry, which really isn't very far away. It's a beautiful bookshop. It's a great two-listed building which they've converted to the absolutely exquisite bookshop. So I recommend it. And they're supplying our books tonight, which is very nice of them. So I met Georgina and Lauren at a literary event in Islington in 2024 and said, "Do you want to come to my library?" We've been planning this and they've agreed to come today. So as you may know, if you read my articles in March today, Georgina has had a long career selling into publishing. Lockdown proved a turning point for her. Clearly she couldn't love for or even with her author. Her lifelong love of writing, and she decided that the time had come for her first novel. Lauren has been writing for a variety of illustrious publications and has published several books, including Pre-Love, which was started in lockdown, and she's also written another book. Despite the day I met her, she was moving to Brighton the next day. She has a 2-year-old, so how anyone writes books at the time, I can't even begin to imagine. Anyway, would you please welcome Georgina and Lauren? Sorry, we were chatting. So sorry. Can you hear us? Yes. Great. Perfect. So, I've obviously read great novels, and I'm quite interested. Your heroines are not run of the mill. They're not 20-something Bridgertons looking for a husband type heroines. I'm particularly thinking of Gwen in Pre-Loved and Margaret in Joey in the River of Stars. They're anti-heroes, but they're not your normal heroines books. That's presumably deliberate. So how do you choose your heroines for us?
It would be incredibly pretentious to say my heroine. But Gwen was a character that I'd had in a notebook for about 10 years. That was all I'd had, but I had this idea for this woman called Gwendolyn Grundle, which is a ridiculous name, and I'm amazed that my editor didn't make me change it, which shouldn't. And I had a sense of who she was, and I knew that she'd sort of fallen between the cracks a little bit. And I don't know, it was quite audacious of me, because I think I was still in my early 30s when I wrote Pre-Loved, and she's 38. And that's not a big gap, I'm exactly 38 now, but at the time I remember thinking, like, I'm writing an older character, someone that I haven't lived this yet, but I just had this really strong sense of age, and now I am very safe, it's fine. Excellent. My books sort of aim slightly off, if that makes sense. So I don't quite write romances, and I don't quite write the kind of heroines people expect. So I don't quite write likeable characters, but they're kind of a lovable.
Certainly are. I think they are.
With Margot in the Garnet Girls, I set out quite deliberately to write a woman. I felt very much that often in commercial fiction you don't see women over 40 are portrayed in the most ridiculous way, like so old and so not interested in character. And I wanted an older female character that was definitely the main character. Still a party girl, still having loads of sex, still getting into real dramas, still quite kind of self-preoccupied, living her best life, which obviously comes with downfalls, given that she's the mother of her family and her daughters have to deal with this. So wanted all that. But Margot is definitely, and she's not even old. She's about to turn 60 and she's having a fairly young man. She lost the love of her life very early, the father of her girls. She loves parties, she loves fashion. And it was just really a deliberate creation because I thought, I don't recognise this woman. They're squeezed to the edge of the scene, they're put in the corner, they're knitting, and you're like, oh yeah, knitting's great, lovely, great, lots of people knit. As a stereotype of someone being an older character, and this is where I used to say when I first went out and got a girl wearing a cardigan in the corner, and then of course cardigans got very fashionable. Loads of people got really offended. I'm not saying that, but you know what I mean, just that kind of stereotype. I hate to say it, but women of a certain age, which is a terrible phrase. So I definitely deliberately set out, and then with Jo, and then everyone tells you not to read your good reviews. And I stupidly did. And I remember a lot of people hate Margot. So, and my partner who's a psychotherapist was like, well, you can't have the extreme, because there are women who come up to me and go, I feel seen by Margot, which is great. But my psychotherapist partner said to me, you can't have that without having the opposite. You're always going to have that. You're going to have an extreme reaction one way, you're going to have it the other way. And there was one review that said, if Margot was my mother, I'd shoot her. I was like, God. But then I just thought, well, actually, I am a bit like what you said, Lauren, that, I really want my characters to be flawed. I'm not a lovey-dovey person. Like, my characters aren't all doing wholesome acts. They're not like that. They're quite often quite self-preoccupied, maybe a little bit narcissistic sometimes, but definitely hopefully on a journey of self. I definitely do get readers who either passionately love them or really don't. And when I created Jo, my editor was like, you're going to have to make Jo a lot less moany. She's really grumpy and she's... and so Jo was toned down. Yeah. I toned her down a bit, and I really did want to. I wanted her to like burying her head in the sand. That stage for women when maybe things haven't fallen into their lap the way like love, babies, and marriage, and all the things we're supposed to want in a particular order. And none of that has happened for Jo in River of Stars. And she's a bit grumpy, but also she's going out on pretending she's much younger. She's what might be called an aging party girl. And I love the way you look at me, nothing to do with me. So I did have to soften her up a bit, and I think there is times in publishing to think, we can't have unlikable characters, and it has changed. People like Kate Winslet and all the stuff she's done. Women and all the women on the screen, but it's a long road. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my statement with that is always, I don't need characters to be likeable, I just need the book to be likeable. I have to be enjoying the story, it has to be a world that I'm enjoying spending time with. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in it needs to be nice, or pleasant. And actually sometimes the books I have the best time with are the books. But the world of it is fun, and I think that's all the most.
And also, like if you write in the crime thriller genre, you're kind of allowed to write these really hilarious characters. But if you're writing family saga or something that's, then it's slightly disapproved of. So there definitely are different rules. Sorry, we went off.
No, that's fine.
She's like, how am I going to keep control of these?
No, it's fine. I know I'm not going to, so it's fine. No, but I think that's really interesting. The second chances and families are so central to all four of these books. So do you think the second chances are available to everybody? And how should they deal with their families? Because in this one, probably nothing. In probably nothing, there's quite a there really. Well, some of the men party. And Margot's family are quite interesting.
What's she saying?
I'm just, they're all very different characters. So, and they had a second chance. They all needed a second chance, didn't they? So, is that something that you think everybody deserves a chance? Do you deliberately write them a second chance, or is it just like,
Really stop to think about it until now, but that's a really good question. Yeah, I think second chances are not even, it's maybe not even binary as a second chance. It's more like, I like to write people that are muddling through and, you know, I think often fiction sort of by its very nature gives us stories that tie up in a neat bow. And I'm always very interested in the, but then what? And then what? And then what? You know? And so I think the characters in my books, Love particularly, is very much about second chances, or even sort of dusting yourself off and just trying again, launching yourself back into society, and actually rekindling old friendships and repairing kind of ruptures within her family and things. Particularly, I don't think I've read Philippa Perry's The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read. I read it when I was pregnant with my daughter, and it's like, oh, I'm never going to be able to read people. One of the things that she talks a lot about is ruptures and how, you know, no one is ever going to be a perfect parent. Important is repairing those ruptures. It's never too late to sit down and go, I was wrong when I said that, or I wish I'd done that. And so actually, one of the things I explore in both of the books a lot is the relationship between adult children and parents. And, you know, how it's not a done deal when you do post. You know, you are still working on those relationships, and actually often as people kind of go into adulthood and maybe start their own families, it often causes you to turn around and look at your own parents and the way you were raised and go, oh, what's going on there? That goes back to their parents and back and back and back, and I think those, you know, those relationships are constantly shifting depending on what's going on.
Stars as a second chance romance, and that's Jo and Oliver, who knew each other as teenagers. I've long been fascinated by, I know a real life couple who in actually, where's the lovely CD lady, who actually met in the Isle of Wight and as teenagers, and they exchanged like a shell on the beach. So up my street. And then they met when they were wrong at 6 years old. I loved it. So I really wanted to. She kept the shell and he'd forgotten. Sorry. Typical, believe that. Anyway, so obviously second chance is interesting to me because I got my first book deal just as I was turning 50, and I'm now 53. And so second chance, of course, interests me because I see a lot of my friends, I see a lot of people who have maybe done one marriage and coming out. It's more common now, moving into the second, often finding more happiness or more understanding or more acceptance of their baggage and who they are in a second relationship or a second marriage. So I'm really intrigued by it, as I would be, I guess, by my age. I don't particularly find books about teenage love and young love that interesting because I'm like, you know, but that might just be my age. So that's what I really want to capture with Jo and Oliver. Them coming back together, trying to come back together with all this baggage of the past and overcoming the past. And my two books, I think, Garden Girls and River of Stars, are pretty much both actually on the theme of how do you overcome the emotional baggage of the past. That's what I'm really interested in. How do you move off, you know, family, as we said, family, the pressure of inheritance, pressure of expectations from parents. I don't think we ever really overcome the pressure of what our parents want from us, want for us. You know, I still feel it now. So I'm really interested in that. So I think that's the second chance, really. But I so agree with Lauren. I think I always feel for people who lose their early and never had that chance to maybe. We're not really interested, are we? It's all me, I. Later on, don't get that chance to ask those questions about family, generation, like Jo in the book. You don't get that chance, and I think it's so like me with my mum. I'm a bit like Sasha in the Garnet Girls. I was that rebellious teen who sort of ran away from home and wanted to do my own thing. I was always really fiercely independent. And I had a difficult relationship with my mother. But now, you know, she's 80. Now, I got that chance. And not everyone gets that chance. And also, not everyone takes that chance as well. Yeah. And back to your question, do you think everyone deserves a second chance? Yes. But are people taking the opportunity of a second chance? That's a both parties can't have the open. Exactly. Relationships where parents don't really know them.
Yeah, siblings come into the mix, don't they, and make life
very hard,
difficult, sometimes. So, how much of you is in your book? Are either of you a character or part of a character? Or
are we going to be honest?
Are you going to be honest?
I mean, I've had so many people talk to me about probably nothing and say, "Oh my God, that bride, she's a mess.
Oh
no, she's ridiculous."
You're like,
Bryony is a character who she's a massive people pleaser, who gets herself into ridiculous situations. In the book, it is pretending to have been madly in love with a man who has recently died so that she doesn't offend his family, when actually she was just casually sleeping with him and wasn't very interested in him. And which is not a situation I've never been in, but she's a neurotic people pleaser, and she's also got really bad health anxiety, she's massive hypochondriac, which was very much borrowed from my own brain. And I thought, as I was writing her, I kind of felt like I was just writing something very relatable. I thought loads of it, and to be fair, lots of people have related to her, but I was surprised by how many people went, oh, she's God, I mean, what a ridiculous person, these kind of situations she gets herself into. But I found there were sort of two types of readers with probably nothing. There are the people who kind of say, well, that's a ludicrous thing, you know, why would she? And then there are the people that go, well, there's nothing else to be done in that. You have to go to a funeral and read a poem you've written about the man you barely knew. And of course you have to go to tea with his mum every week for months because you're too polite to say, actually, I'm so sorry. No.
Basically, you are Bryony. When my publisher did the PR and marketing for the Garnet Girls, they did a quiz, find out which Garnet girl you are. And I couldn't believe that people were talking about my characters in that way, because obviously it's my first book and it was weird. And one was going, oh my God. And I read the quiz and they were all chatting. And I was like, there's something wrong with this quiz, because I got Margot, and they went, no, there's nothing wrong with this. I was like, oh, man. But I think what I did, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was writing my debut novel. I didn't really have a clue. I think what I did was I used a touchstone of myself for each of the women in the Garnet Girls at different stages of my life. And then that really annoyed me. I never believed that I used to listen to people say at events where they say, men went off and became real people and did their own, and I think, that's just funny. But actually, it did happen with the Garnets and with Jo and with the it's important for me to understand life. So, there is obviously with Jo, the aging party girl. I was that, and I even did a piece for The Guardian about moving to an island and running away from my party girl lifestyle. So there is that element of me, and I always need a way in. But then they do go off and they develop. Now they're so separate from me that I see them as separate people. But I really felt for Jo, and Jo was the kind of tell you about babies and how I was a mum later. I was 38, 39 when I had my two. Even my mum had given up on me. She was just like, oh, our great daughter in publishing, she's just our public, she's just. And I think that part of me with Jo was sort of imagining what happened and how close I came. How close I came to not settling down and not getting important and not thinking, actually, now it's time to just really focus. And so, a lot of aging party girls have really identified with Jo and kind of written to me going, oh, I really, it's okay. Either I came so close to Jo or I am Jo. And so I think for me, a bit like with Lauren, what Lauren was saying about these characters is having a way as you really understand.
It's emotional truth.
Yeah, it's emotional. Yeah, exactly.
Pure fiction.
They're in a completely different world. Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously what they can imagine.
Yeah, I think that's.
When you publish the book, do you read your reviews on the section? Do you?
Well, sometimes people tag you in the bad ones, and you have no way not to. Just never do that.
And how much do they affect you? If you do read them, how much do they? Do they affect you?
I'd like to say they didn't, but if I'm people, they do a bit, and what I need to be really careful of is that I'm not trying to chase the reader's love, because like the readers loved in the Garnet, they loved this Isle of Wight setting, and people kept writing, I want to move to the Isle of Wight. And now, and so with the River of Souls, I really wanted a setting that I would really love as much. And I live on the river. I live on a houseboat. I work in a little canal boat in the water, and I love the River Thames. And so River of Souls is really my love letter to that setting, and I really use my knowledge of it real, because I probably, because of this, was a bit nervous that I wasn't going to ever be able to capture. But now with my third book, I'm thinking, well, I can't be held to that.
Got to be in a body of water every single time.
Yes, although we do love islands. So I think you have to be a bit careful that you're not listening to what certain readers are saying, and then trying to adapt your writing for it. But yes, I'm terrible. I think my issue is because I'm in the industry, because I'm a book publicist as well, so I look up to Maggie O'Farrell and Lucy Foley, those big authors, and I'm surrounded by talking about authors and publishing. I feel like I can take it because and then I realise I probably can't.
I definitely can't. No, I have a whole system. When the books go out on NetGalley, you start getting the kind of advanced reviews before publication, and then the reviews will start creeping up on Goodreads. And my husband is very well primed, he's very sweet. He will go on sporadically, and he'll just read me nice snippets. Or he'll just say, oh, there's loads of 5 stars here, and he'll read me like little bits from them, which is lovely, which just reassures me that someone is enjoying it. But I don't know. Even some occasion when I've kind of had to Google my book just to get, just to get the jacket picked quickly or something like that, and then a star rating will come up, and I'm like, no. Because I think I could, as a people pleaser, could very easily, as you say, be sucked into the trap of trying to please everybody. And we will know if you try and please everybody at once, you end up pleasing nobody, especially not yourself.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you have to write the book that you want to write. I mean, particularly in those really early kind of stages when it is just you and the book.
Yeah.
You really have to write the book that you want to write, because all kinds of people are going to collate and make you change it anyway. So you've got to have a very strong sense of this is the story I want to tell, and try not to think about anybody else at that point. And then you're ready to.
I remember seeing on the page a 5-star, which Garnet Girl's got loads of 5 stars, really nice. Next, I'm just thinking, and that did make me. I did just think, God, it's so subjective. The 5 stars says something like, "This is it is the most transformative book on families and relationships I've read," and then the one. And so I was a bit like, okay. So you have that literally next to each other. The whole spectrum. You're like, okay, I hadn't realised that,
You know what I do though? This is maybe not very healthy. I go and read.
I'm going to start doing
I go and read reviews of other books.
Yeah, me too.
So books I have loved, I'll go on Goodreads and I'll read all the bad reviews and be like, these people are insane.
Yeah, they're insane.
This book's brilliant. They don't know what they're talking about. And then books that I've read and been like, with this, I'll then go and read all the reviews for that, and again I'll think, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, that's actually really helpful in life, isn't it?
There's such an enormous breadth of taste out there. You're never going to please everybody, and there are books I've hated that other people have absolutely adored.
Pineapple Street.
Have you read that? Love Pineapple. opinion, are actually books that stand the test of
Yeah,
time.
I think that's right.
Stay with people.
Because
for long.
it's better to have a big reaction than no reaction, I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people here are in a book group. I'm in a book group.
Yeah.
And we had a book on Tuesday, and we scored out of 10. And the scores went from 2 to 9. So really, it was an old book. It was
And Tyler.
It was an Anne Tyler.
Oh,
which Anne Tyler?
How could you not like Anne Tyler? It was breathing lessons.
Oh, yeah, that's not her best.
I can see that Anne Tyler's style. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
No, I think that's just a different style.
I mean, I love books and nothing really happens.
Well, which Anne
But some
Tyler
people
books,
obviously.
Anne Tyler books, nothing happens, do you?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not going to read for long because that can. By the way, there's a map. So just, I do love a map. And did anyone have that Swallows and Amazons copy when they were Narnia too? But probably more relevant. Because it's an island, isn't it? Anyway, I live on the river on Tags Island, which is an island at County Court, and upstream from me is an island called Eel Pie Island. And Eel was very famous in the 60s. It was called the Isle of Vice. Amazing bands played there. There was this crumbling hotel, and I was very fascinated by the fact that also on Tags Island, the island used to have a hotel that was owned by this guy called Fred Carney, who was Charlie Chaplin's agent and a theatre impresario. They had big music. And then there's Doyle Cart in Weybridge, which is an island that has this very big kind of opera history. Told about the River Thames and its islands and music. And so I'm just going to read a little bit, which is set in 1964. And it's Mary who's the heroine both in the past, it's a dual timeline novel, set in the 60s and also set on my imaginary island, Walnut Tree Island, which is sort of an amalgamation of the island I live on and Eel Pie. And Mary is about 1964. The music and darkness, a siren call pulling her to Walnut Island. The vibrations from a guitar, the grumbling reply of a man's vocals. Mary felt her blood fizzing with excitement as she moved through the wood smoke. She fumbled in her pocket for the penny she needed for Rosie on the toll as she took long strides up the bridge. There was a splash from the riverbank, the sound of laughter, a group of boys watching as one of their friends decided to swim for the other side. He was probably saving his toll money for a Newcastle Brown. It happened all the time. The lights from the island were wavering moons on the water. Everything around Mary looked rich with the promise of happiness. She would be in trouble if they found the pillows stuffed in her bed, especially on a school night, but she hardly cared. Wednesday nights were the new nights to be on Walnut Tree. When the club played the rhythm and blues, everyone was alone and feel the anticipation. Past the toll booth, the path was crowded with teenagers. Down into the inky water, she hoped she was dressed casually enough. We went to the island to dance and to talk politics and to neck. In the piece of the grass outside the hotel or behind the stage, many did more than that. Jeans, a man's shirt which she had tied at the waist. She wore flat slip-on shoes the way most of the girls did, so she could jump on the sprung floor. Up with a fringe that brushed her eyelashes. The only part of her that showed any styling were her carefully cold eyes. She thought about George, whether he'd be on the door tonight, whether he would take her hand in his and stamp on it himself. He looked at her like he wanted to know her, and every time she was at Treeland, he sought her out to talk. She always felt special when he talked to her, as he was the man who created the club, the man everyone wanted to know. He didn't dance, and he was much older than her, but she liked the way he looked after her, made her feel safe. But most of all, she liked the music and the dance.
Okay, bear with me because I had marked this out in my own copy and I've forgotten to bring it on stage. No, it's fine, I think I know. So, Bryony has arrived for her 5th date with Ed to find him drinking a protein shake, and she realises it's not going anywhere. You heard about it all the time. Oh, hang on, sorry. It wasn't the way it happened in films, but Bryony reasoned it was the way it often did in real life, wasn't it? Relationships started off lukewarm and heated up slowly like soup. You heard about it all the time. It was the realist's favourite fairy tale. Couples who had little in common would roll over one morning and suddenly see the universe in each other's sleep crossed. Couples who barely liked each other at first would joke about it in their wedding speeches. There were rewards for perseverance, for sticking with it, for jollying along and putting the work in, for being a grounded woman who didn't expect a Disney prince with a perfect vinyl collection, but could instead learn to love a pleasant human male who said espresso and clapped when the aeroplane landed. And Ed was a pleasant human male, was the thing. Choose someone kind, yelled the discourse. The discourse was obsessed with kind. People called their 1-year-olds kind in Instagram posts. And he had passed the preliminary tests. He was nice to hospitality staff. He wore a condom without being asked. He spoke warmly of his late grandmother, said bless you when Bryony sneezed. Curious in conversation, generous in bed, he was the kind of person who said, sorry, you go on, anytime your speech even slightly overlapped, which personally Bryony hated because it made the chat so stilted and formal, but she supposed it was a good mark against his character in society's great ledger. Pleasant, kind. Much of the time she'd spent with Ed had been like this, reaching a little too hard for things to be attracted to, straining to see a spark before it fizzled out or revealed itself to be a truth. Grasping for potential between them was like trying to catch a bar of soap in the bath. Shake was at least noteworthy, but it had finally nudged Bryony's incometer into the red zone. On the great ledger, there were now one too many points in the comms column. Her mind was made up as she sat down opposite Ed. As she drank 2 glasses of wine and pushed herself, smiling like a pageant queen through the motions of flirty conversation. As she kissed him across the sticky table and again on the street, as she allowed his hand to wander up her skirt and Uber back to his, and she asked her appreciation into his pillow one last time. Up her things, made excuses about an early morning meeting, and left him looking puppyish and proud in his doorway. She was resolved. No more Ed. No more waiting around for the lukewarm soup to heat up. She would be the grown-up who had the guts to end it, which, as a perfectionist overachiever, was a conversation Bryony performed well, but would find agonising. Things were made significantly easier on this score the next day, when she received a phone call telling her that Ed had died.
Thank you both very much. I think that's given us a good taster of what's to come. We've talked briefly about this, but you obviously, there are genres, and some people write to genres and some people don't. I was trying to describe your book particularly to someone who was going to read it. It's clearly a family saga, but it's not a family saga, and I hate to say this to anyone who wants to read them. We have a group of family sagas in the library which are known as Vera Lynn books by some of us, because they're all the land girls, girls hunting. Exactly, and they're all set in wartime, and everyone's got a wrap over apron like my granny wore. That's not, that's a family saga because it does come. You're not in that genre. Do you like to be called a something writer, or do you hate genres? What would you say?
When I girls, everyone just compared me to dead authors. So I was like, oh, what's going on here? May Finchy, Rosalind Pilcher, Mary Worsley. Yeah, I'm going to take all of that. Obviously, because also some of those are my favourite authors. In fact, all 3 of them are great authors that I love. But I don't know whether maybe family stuff has gone out of fashion a little bit when I bought the book. Great for me because everyone's like, ooh, we haven't seen this for a while. But it's definitely, with both books, I really wanted that comforting setting And as someone said, they're escapists, but they're not sentimental. They're definitely not sentimental. These are bang up to date stories about women and what women are going through now. But the setting gives you escape. But probably the storytelling is trauma. And there's real trauma in both books, family and that. So I think that is what Family Saga is actually, but not the clogs and shawls, as we use that in publishing. It's an any book is a family saga in many ways, isn't it? But because we're female writers, we have to bear our lot, don't we? You know.
As if you're a man, you State of the Nation.
Oh, State of the Nation, yeah. Yeah, State of the Nation, that's what we were writing. No, yeah. It's like, you know, the great and amazing, lovely David Nichols, who we all love. But
if his books were written by women.
Yeah, they're not going to be the same. So, you know, it is hard. Sorry, Melanie.
I think David Nichols is very aware of that, that's the thing.
Yeah, bless him. He's lovely. Has anyone met
Does
he not come here?
Oh, ask him. Oh, I bet he's the loveliest man in teaching. He is an absolute darling.
He's in London. Yeah.
Genre for me is a bit of a can of worms actually, because I wasn't thinking about genre at all when I started writing fiction. And then I had a bit of a shock, which was that my books keep getting filed with romances. I go to bookshops, they'll often be in the romance section. Libraries, they're in the romance section. And they're not romances. I love that, and obviously they're going great guns in the industry at the moment. So in many ways, I wish I did write romances. But I don't, and I think it comes a little bit back to what I was saying about always sort of aiming left of the mark. I never quite want to write the happy ending. I never quite want to write the handsome love interest. I always make my love interest a bit gnarly and a bit weird. And so as a result, I've ended up with books that people don't quite know how to categorise. And yeah, so it is quite tricky because I worry often that people who love romances will pick up my books and then be terribly disappointed that they're not getting the tropes. You know, I don't hit the beats that romance want. And then I worry people who don't read romances that actually might really enjoy my book. Romances. So it's a tricky one, and it's obviously it comes down a lot to marketing and a lot to the way that you're positioned, and authors don't have an awful lot of control over that. I suspect you're better at having control over that than I am because you're in the industry. But you know, if I had my time again, there are certain things I would go back and actually maybe make different decisions on and stand a bit further. Like you just learn as you go. And actually, you know, what I love is when people have read my books and gone, oh, it's not what I thought it was. But in a good way, you know, always surprise you, which is really nice. I think often, again, being the books that maybe don't fit wholly into one sort of genre often mean they are the books that are more memorable and the books that stand.
Jacket is so impossible, it's so difficult because from a commercial point of view, the jacket has to be the one that brings in the biggest possible readership. I mean, that's just obvious. Publishing is a business. But the only thing with that is if you are misleading people with the jacket, then, you know, and you're building a brand and, you know, you want those readers to return, you want to end up being an auto-buy. And if they're not, if the jacket isn't giving them what they think is their, then they feel really let down and annoyed. So it's kind of, it is different. I see how it's really, really tricky. You kind of want to be innovating, and then everyone comes along and calls copy. So it can be really hard. I think you just have to go with what feels right and not overrun, and also trust the experts because, you know, you might be good at words, but I personally am not so good visually. So I try and trust, but I think it can be really hard because you can just sometimes feel it, can't you, when it's right.
Right, whilst homeschooling on a houseboat on the Thames, Lauren wrote through pregnancy, a house move, totally very small child. How hard writing actually for you? I mean, doesn't have to tell you, the next day, Lauren said, "Oh, I'm moving to Brighton tomorrow."
Yeah. Yeah, my whole life was packed up in boxes. Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I think the answer I'd love to give, writing is my escape, writing is my treat, and it's lovely if I can run away from responsibilities, I can do some writing. The reality is I find writing very hard, and there are many days where I would rather do anything else. Like I will put on wash after wash, I will clean the bathroom, I will do the most boring admin so that I don't have to sit down and write. But sometimes books get, I mean, it's probably nothing I was meant to hand in before I gave birth to my daughter. And I found, I don't know if anyone else who's had kids has found this, I found it was impossible to work in pregnancy. Like really, really difficult. My brain just sort of turned treacle. Sitting down and just getting 1,000 words on a page just suddenly became. I ended up, instead what I thought would be easier is if I waited till I had a newborn and then wrote the rest of the book then. That was fine. Which that is what I did, so I had to go back to work about 2 months.
You do sleep a lot.
Yeah, and I was very lucky in that my husband took shared parental leave, so he was off for 9 months because I had my first novel coming out and then I had to finish the second one. And so it was just me every day kind of dragging myself away from a newborn baby and hammer out the words. But you do find that when your time is limited and you know, okay, well I only have 2 hours to just sit down and get this out, it's amazing how close.
Well, it was kind of all right for my girls because it was COVID. And my job in publishing massively, like so many people's jobs changed, didn't they? I mean, big part of my job is basically going around with authors, like Maggie Earl or whoever, going to book festivals, looking after them, going in and out of the BBC, running an office. I was publicity director at Headline then. Had a team of 10. It was quite a corporate job in big publishing houses, that job of publicity director, because we were reporting all the time, a lot of meetings, and all that just went overnight. And then suddenly everything, as we know, was virtual. Everything was virtually online, and I'm not very good at going home early from things, and I love all the social side of my job. So for that all to come out, I had a lot of time. And for the first time ever in my life, I got up really early. And so I was up at like 5:30. And if I tried to do that now, I'd be asleep on my desk. But I was up really early and I was getting in maybe an hour and a half before having to do online schooling. I don't know who here had to do online schooling, but it was literally the worst thing I've ever had to do. I mean, it was so hard. And so this bit of the day that wasn't about my job, wasn't about my kids, and just for me. And I remember just thinking about it all the time. I really want to be there doing that, not doing all the rest of it. So that was, in many ways, easy. When it came to River of Stars, I was back in my job. I've got 2 teenagers there, 13 and 14. And I gave myself a day. I took a day away from Midas, which is the PR agency that I help run. And I thought, well, that'll make all the difference. Taken up with admin, marketing, social media. And so I'm not entirely sure. And I'm nearly finishing my 3rd book. I'm not sure when it gets done. I mean, you listen it. You go and listen to writers and go, get up. What was I listening to the other day? I get up and I do. Oh, it was Philip Pullman. Sorry, because we're working with Philip on his new book, which is very exciting. And he was like, I get up and I do 4 hours in the morning, I do 4 hours in the afternoon. I'm like, oh my god, every day! Couldn't believe it. So
Yeah, I have another job.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have teenagers, no. But yeah, I'm just thinking, I think one of the things I'm really grateful for about having a job and teenagers is that I don't have much time to get anxious. And I think that's probably very good for the way my brain is. I think that if I was just writing full time, there'd be a lot of let me just look how this is doing on Amazon. Let me just look how so-and-so's doing. Let me just read the terrible Goodreads reviews. I think I get myself in the right old tiz, and I don't so much.
You can put yourself at anything to research. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, well, I have to. If I just binge watch, what to do this? That's research. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually.
So we don't know how we wrote them, but we did.
I'm quite interested in the amount of ground you cover in your novels. So, just in these 4 books, we've got pyramid selling, we've got divorce, we've got breakdowns, we've got redundancy, we've got Alzheimer's. A really big issue are covered in a very entertaining way. Very, some of your books are very funny. And how much research do you do? Are you taking what you know of life, or are you actually researching these things?
So in River of Stars, Mary, who you met when she's 16, going over to Walnut Tree Island in the 60s, is also in the present day in her 70s. And I'm not giving anything away by saying this, but it becomes clear that she's struggling with her memory. And I really wanted to portray that because the whole book is about the pull of memory, your memories, the past, how the past of it. That's why it's a dual time. It's all an interplay between the two stories, and it's about music and memory. And I thought it would be very moving if Mary was struggling with her memories, and Jo is kind of then has to be the one that takes them, as her granddaughter takes them forward. But I really wanted to do justice to it. Do it in a candid way that upset anyone who'd gone through it themselves or had a mother or a grandmother who'd gone through Alzheimer's. So I did do quite a lot of reading about that. I didn't want to get it wrong. So far I've had really nice feedback about it. I wanted to do it really sensitively, and it didn't look like a kind of, like I've used it as a plot device, because I always think readers hate that. So I tried really hard. So I did really research that and read about what happens and how it can be quite sporadic at the beginning and how you come into it. So I did do on that particular subject, because it's a sensitive one, isn't it, to lots of people. So I did on that.
Often I'll have the idea, and then I'll think, well, I'll just get the words down, and then I can research almost retroactively and make sure the facts are there and everything's kind of correct. So I did for some things. So I mean, Ed, for example, who died again of that extract, he died from anaphylaxis or wasp sting, and so I did do a lot of research around that and made sure that reason that I hadn't got anything wrong. And what I often do is I have sensitivity readers and friends and people I know who can shed some light on a particular area or something. So in Pre-Loved I had a character who was experiencing homelessness, and my brother worked for many years at a homeless shelter as a counsellor, so I had him read it for me and kind of make sure that he felt I was handling it enough and that I was doing that character justice. So I read things like that to kind of make sure that there's a truth to the emotions. But I don't tend to do a whole lot of research. I mean, partly just because, again, like tight deadlines and life being busy, I would love to have 6 months to just kind of read around and then sit down to write the book, but it never quite works out that way. So I just have to get on with it and then just kind of go back afterwards and make sure I haven't made any clangers.
What did you know about pyramid? Interesting.
Oh yes,
funny.
That one. Yes,
that was very interesting.
There's a big well, they call them MLMs, multi-level marketing schemes. If anyone's ever had a message on Facebook from someone saying, "Hi, hon, we've got a great business opportunity for you," and I had that was just a personal interest. So I'd noticed exactly that girls I went to school with had started messaging me on Facebook out of the blue, trying to get me, literally trying to get me kind of to join their businesses. Yeah, and I thought, what is it about these otherwise smart women, educated women, that they fall for these very clearly cons, but they're obviously not very clearly cons for everybody. And so I got really into that, and I listened to a lot of really good podcasts about it. There's one called The Dream, which really goes into MLMs and how they kind of developed and all the various iterations that have got people kind of over the decades. So that was just like a really kind of personal hobby course of mine. I just get really interested in them. I love anything about cults and scams and that kind of thing. I think there's quite a big culture up at the moment, and there's a lot of really good podcasts and like Netflix series and that kind of thing out there. So yeah, but I have to say I have not personally been involved in a pyramid scheme. There's still time.
Obviously, you, Georgina, work in publishing and have done, and Lauren, you worked for lots of well-known publications, so I presume that getting your was quite easy for you. I'm assuming. Cynical laughter. Lots of people, I mean, is there a secret other than being a well-known TV presenter and then you get anything published? But we won't go there. But I mean, how easy was it for you to get a book published, and is that because of who you know rather than what your writing is?
I mean, I had loads of advantages to getting published, definitely, and it'd be mad of me not to say that I did. But publishing is a business, and they're not going to spend money on books that aren't going to sell. So there's that. But also, they want authors. They know. I know because I've sat the other side of the table. I sat at acquisition meetings and been sent a manuscript by Lauren and thought, that would be great. Lauren's a journalist. So Elizabeth Day, and she can go on that podcast and she can write a piece about it in Red magazine. And there's the millennial market. And I've sat there and I've had those discussions. But at the end of the day, the book has to, die and fall on its merit. Where that was a huge consideration 10 years ago when I sat in those meetings. How promotional the author was, did they have a massive Instagram following? It's so much harder now because actually nothing is really changing the dial. The media doesn't work. Gen X is not reading print media, they're not interested, basically dying. We're so fractured across media that, it's possible almost to have an impact on sales. And you put someone on the one show or BBC Breakfast, and you'd see the graph on Amazon. You sell 500 copies in a couple of hours. That doesn't happen anymore. It just doesn't happen. And so those devices are no longer as powerful. And this is why you see authors on Substack building their own community, building their own readership. And really, the power is back with you guys. It's back with the readers. Your book groups recommend word of mouth. So decisions being made just because someone's influential and has good contacts, no way. There's no way that's happening. Just to be part of the team and go out and do stuff and build their community, yes.
And that's it, you have to do a lot
of
work.
Do a lot of work. Has it a lot, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, massively so. Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel that pressure. It's not enough to just write a nice book and then leave it to the experts to go and say it. It's like, no, it's on you to have a platform to be, publicising as much as you can, because marketing and publicity budgets are shrinking, every area of the industry getting squeezed. And so, you do. It should be. You think, oh God, I should have. If only I had more Instagram followers, or if only I was on TikTok, or if only I was making more reels, and it's quite hard to kind of that pressure. Yeah. I mean, in terms of your question about getting published to begin with, so I was approached by my agent when I've been mainly, I think, because I've been writing reviews. It's ridiculous. They would come longer than the episode. So I used to do some stupid kind of comedy reviews, and she was a fan of those, and so she approached me and had signed with her. And then we spent about a year putting together a proposal for a book, a non-fiction book at that point, and went out with it on submission, went to lots of different editors, got some lovely feedback, and then they all said no. And which was really devastating. You think like this is it, this might be great, I'm going to write a book, and then nothing. So I sort of had a few months of licking my wounds, and then actually my very first book, which was For What Spice Girls Do, was a commission. So that was one of the editors who had read my proposal and rejected it. then came to my agent a few months later and said, well, I don't want that one, but we would like someone to write this book about Spice Girls. Would you be up for that? And, you know, so it's not the romantic way into the industry people often imagine. People often think that you've had a book, you know, brewing in your heart for years and years, and you sit down and actually it's often a lot more business-like. So it was just a case of my agent saying, right, you know, you've got 2 months to write this book. You don't get paid very much for it, but off you go. And that was one of the best things I ever did. And off the back of that, I then went to different publishers and had my second book again was a commission book. And then fiction was a completely different kettle of fish then. And, you know, I was lucky that I had sort of enough of a reputation, I suppose, for my non-fiction work and my journalism. Partial, so I didn't write the whole book, I wrote about a third of it. But yeah, definitely not a very straightforward route into publishing.
Forgive me, but the majority of crime and thriller books are written by men, and the majority of family saga, romance, general fiction, we call it now, I think, are written by women.
Yeah.
Is that changing? Is that? Do you know why that is? I mean, does anyone know why that is? Is it just one of those things?
I feel as though more and more women are turning to crime and thriller writing, particularly sort of now cosy crime is this huge thing. I've got a lot of friends who write, I don't think we call it necessarily funny crime, I suppose, or glamorous crime, or, you know, my friend Kate Weston has just written a brilliant book about estate agents, which is sort of selling sunset with murder, that kind of thing. That's really exciting to see that open up. What I would love is to see more male authors coming into, you know, although would we like to, I don't know. No, we have not David Nichols, maybe we can't. No. But
yeah, David Nichols really gets keen up.
He does.
I don't know. I think that, you know, there are a lot of big backlash at the moment in the industry from men saying, why is there the women's prize? Why, you know, now we're no one's reading men's books. Can we come? So
every prize is a men's prize.
So I think men are feeling that they're a little bit hard done by. I mean, I just don't really.
If I'd read, was it? Yeah, Patrick Gale or John Boyne.
Patrick Gale is my exception. I just read everything by him. If you haven't read Patrick Gale, he's amazing. Yeah, I used to be into book publicist.
I just know, it's wonderful. But I used to. These men, unless it's somebody I know. My friend Justin Myers is one. He writes gorgeous rom-coms. But otherwise. It's not political. It's not like I'm going, oh, no men. It just, they don't really cross my path, then they don't get recommended to me. It just.
Damien Barr, the two Roberts, which I do want to read, and I also love Andrew Miller, who's just been longlisted for the Booker. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I think, you know, I've been working with Lucy Foley, and Lucy Foley's going to write the new Miss Marple, which is exciting, which will be brilliant. And, you know, I know a lot of the writers. I suppose they come at it from who are women, like Adele Bart, and Louise Candlish, and Lisa Jewell, who's the Queen. There's, loads. But I think what you call domestic noir angle, which I find fascinating, you know, this idea that I think we all, when crime comes into the house, and it's someone you know, I mean, the dramas have been made on Netflix about that for donkey's years now. Do you know what? Just for the good, I'd love to see a new Mike Gale or a new David Nichols or a new guy in that space. I really would, because I think it's important.
It's like straight men writing romance.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. I think it's part of the reason David Nichols has been so successful.
So successful, because he's got the market.
And he writes.
And also he's good.
Well, and he writes women.
He does write women
In a way that a lot of male authors.
Oh, I do love William Boyd, actually. Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I can think of more. If I stop to think. But yeah, it is an interesting one, but I think, does it matter? I I think as long as we've got readers, I'm not sure it necessarily does. And I think I'm not writing books that I'm particularly expecting them to pick up. When they do, I'm always delighted, and actually I have had a lot of memory of my books and say they really enjoy them, but I'm not writing for them.
So funny. I remember doing an event for the Garnet Girls, and it's deliberately the Garnet Girls written from the female perspective. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the mum and the 3 daughters. That's why it's called the Garnet Girls. They're all the Garnet Girls. And but I do allow the father who went out of their life when they were very little, the children, the mother's great love, to have a kind of letter at the end. And I just remember a man standing up at one of my events going, "Can you now rewrite the book from the man's perspective?" I was like, I don't know whether that's going to work particularly.
You should have said, well, you go.
But yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? But yeah, I think there's room for more than writing family saga, definitely.
I think it'd be interesting to have more kind of gender blind books as well, in that is it always necessary to know the sex of an author? And we've also seen like Dolly Alderton's last book, The Material, was written almost entirely from the perspective of a male protagonist. And I mean, obviously, I'm not really qualified to judge, but I thought she was brilliant me. And so I think maybe, there's room for authors to be a bit more confident.
I was really scared in River of writing Oliver.
Oh, you felt so real.
It was the first time I wrote the love interest, Joe's long lost love, Oliver. It's the first time I'd done from a male point of view. And I remember saying to my editor, "Well, will I?" You'll be fine. But I think because I have a girl and a boy who are very close age. I mean, they're like 12 months apart. I think you realise they're so close in everything that they're thinking and everything they're concerned about and anxieties about appearance, and that actually there's so much common ground. So I think I just went in that way with Oliver. I hope I did an all right job. We can.
Like for the transmission.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's it. So what number are you?
I can repeat it back.
Is it working now?
No. Try again.
Online.
Hello, online.
Yeah, that's all right.
We should say hello to them.
Okay, I'll ask the question because I've got the microphone now. Questions about both of you, and there's a follow-up. So firstly, about being writers when you were children, and if the answer to that is no, what did you want to be when you were? What did you want to do?
I'll answer because it's very easy for me. I was obsessed with being a writer when I was a child, and there was when I was 11, Miss Kelly, my English teacher, told us to write fill an exercise book with a novel, and mine went to 10 exercise books. Wow. And it was a romance set in the Victorian period at the Great Exhibition, and each lesson we were supposed to read it out, and everyone would come and go, "Can we have the next instalment of Georgina's book?" And she was like, "Okay, fine." And I was obsessed, and I just read the whole time. And one of my first books I ever wrote, and I was obsessed with Anne of Green Gables, and still am, my favourite book. And one of my first books I wrote was called Aurora of Willowdale, which I'm sure you can imagine. I wrote the whole time, I read the whole time, not like my 2 teenagers who have screens and just, it's almost impossible to get them off it. I didn't have any of that, so I just read and read and read and read. But when I went and got the job as in publishing, it was like the dream job. I loved it so much, and sort of quite quickly moved up and was doing amazing things like going around the country with Hillary Clinton and Kate Aid, all these amazing people. There wasn't any time. It wasn't the kind of job where you had time to write. So I kind of just got swept up with that, really. So then I didn't think I'd ever have anything to add. That I saw how competitive it was. I saw how many books were published. I think
That succeeded.
I was completely spooked out. They told you their story of COVID, and I think because I felt everyone was on furlough in publishing, I felt really removed. from publishing, which I think was a good thing because I didn't try and chase the market with the Garnet Girls. I didn't try to think what's everyone buying and reading, because otherwise I'd have written a dragon book and I'd have been rubbish. But so I think that's how it happened, all very late. And also it's good for people who are aspiring to write that, you know, people are being published older.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a predictable answer, but I always wanted to be an author. As a child, I was, you know, very similar to Georgina. I used to write little sketches and make my friends act them out in the playground. I was always the one writing poetry in my bedroom and writing novels, and yeah. But then I thought I wanted to be in magazine journalism. So if you'd asked me age kind of 15, what do you want to be when you grow up, I would have said, I'm going to be the editor of British Vogue. And made my peace with that. But yeah, and then actually I kind of...
You could take Anna around.
I just couldn't hack it. This is the thing, I did one internship. I cried in the toilet every single day.
Yeah.
It was very Devil Wears Prada. And I was too young, I was 17, I thought I was big. And actually just, yeah, and I found it really cutthroat. And even now, I mean, I am technically a fashion writer, but I've never really been... I write about charity shops and that kind of thing. Yeah, so then I sort of found my way back to fiction, but weirdly again, I sort of discounted the idea of writing novels. Non-fiction seemed logical because it was just a progression from journalism. It's just like writing a long article. But with fiction, even though I've read fiction my whole life, I loved reading as a child. That creativity, you don't have the same inhibitions when you're a kid. So you sit down and be like, I'm going to write my novel, and then you'll hand out a copy of family and make everyone read it. You don't have that subconscious. Oh, I can write fiction. Oh no, I can make stuff up. What? Make them read it. I found the whole thing kind of embarrassing. So I actually took my agent kind of saying, well, what do you want to write next? And I was like, well, what I'd quite like to do is earn some money. My first two books really weren't any money at all. And she was like, well, there's a bit more money in fiction, so give that a go. So I just sat, and then again, lockdown happened. And I had so much time on my hand, and all my work dried up. I was just regrowing, a spring onion on the windowsill and sourdough and whatever. And so then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to dig out that notebook from 10 years ago where I scribbled down. Yeah, that was it.
Hi everyone, you must have something. Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask 2 questions?
Now you've got the microphone.
So, my first question is, if you're going to start to write a book, and everybody says there's a book in every one of them, do you start with an outline and know where the book's going, or do you just start writing and see where the idea takes you?
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Plotter or a pantser?
Yeah. What about you?
I am most definitely a bit of a pantser. I think with the Garnets, when I had this idea, I had this setting, I said, because I was out in Isle of Wight, saw this family on the beach, all going sailing together. I just thought, oh God, it might be a great place to set a book because it's got that small community, and I was born in London, where everyone knows your business, knows your name, knows your art. And I said to Patrick Bale, who was born on the Isle of Wight, I said, what do you think of this idea? And he said, oh yeah, I never understood why everyone always writes about Cornwall. Just as nice beaches on the Isle of Wight, you could make it the new Cornwall. So I kind of had the mothers and daughters, and I told you earlier about how I really wanted to do a woman, not the typical mould. So I had all that, and I didn't know how I was going to put it into a structure. And I've realised since listening to other authors and talking about this quite a lot, that actually it's really important for me to not to know where I'm going. I enjoy it much more. So I'm like, I'm at my perfect place at the moment. I'm writing my first draft of my third novel, remember. I really don't actually know how I'm going to wrap it all up. Really intriguing and fascinating to me. I think I'd be quite bored if I had it plotted out. I like, what I was saying earlier about characters doing things I don't expect. I love that element of it. And I've since realised from talking to authors that there are authors who do that. Whereas there are also neighbours, you don't know whether Lauren is one who do yellow post-it notes.
Oh no, I'm definitely not yellow post-it note person. The weird thing with me is by nature, I'm definitely a pantser. I'm not an organised person. I'm not, my husband is like the king of spreadsheets, and I'm not. Never write a to-do list. Never, I just kind of, fly by the seat of my pants and everything. But I have kind of been forced to be a plotter by the nature of the way that I've written my 2 books, which is that, as I said, I wrote the first third of Pre-Loved and sold it off the back of that, so I had to write a plot summary to explain what was going to happen in the rest of the book, because I was too lazy to write the rest of the book. And so I did already kind of have it mapped out, even though it changed a lot as I was writing it. And then with Probably Nothing, again, because it was I had a 2-book deal, I knew I had to write a second one. Did they not make you? Whereas I kind of had to, again, they were like, right, what's this second book going to be?
They haven't asked for any outlines or anything, I don't
So I sort of had to sit down and go, okay, right, and I had this kernel of an idea, and I didn't know where it was going to go. And actually, I think I would much prefer your way of sitting down and just seeing where it takes me. But at the same time, I think because I do have quite a sort of scatterbrain, it is quite useful sometimes for me to just know, okay, well, I do at least need to sort of hit these points on the road. So I think I'm kind of a little bit of both. But actually, I think that writers can change over our careers, and maybe definitely. One book is a plotting book and another book is a pants book, and neither way is the right way. It's just whatever way gets the book written.
My second question, sorry, Kelly. If you were sitting here, who do you think should be on that sofa next for us in Earls Barton?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, clearly David Nichols.
And have you got his phone number?
I can definitely ask him. Yeah, he'd be great, David Nichols. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful, and he's a great speaker.
If we could get more, with apologies to the men in the audience, get more men in the audience. Because men do read. I mean, there are lots of our customers, but we don't get very many men to our authors, which is I think quite strange. Unless maybe if we had a
child would be amazing.
Yeah, but so that's being recommended authors who you think might come would be very useful. It's getting hold of them, getting hold of their person we need to talk to is most difficult. I mean, most of our authors I get by a library and then emailing them and saying,
I tell you who's lovely and everyone would hear with love is Bobby Palmer, who wrote Isaac and the Egg.
Oh, yes.
Do you know Isaac and the Egg?
And what was his other one about the fox?
Yeah, I didn't quite get that. Oh.
What about the guy that did the Fellowship of Puzzle?
Oh, I like Samuel Byrne.
Yeah. He's really good chums with lovely Jenny Godfrey, who wrote This Is Suspicious.
You've all read that.
Yes, I mean that's been amazing. And then her new on the barbecue at number 9 is to go out and get my claws on one. They would be a really big viewer actually.
Talking into a mic.
Yeah, they'd be really good here. Yeah. I think the gentleman at the
And when you mentioned that and you had read your excerpt, and I imagined you sitting on the sofa, and I'm thinking,
oh, what would I talk about with Lucy Maud Montgomery? I'd probably be a bit, for once, short of a few words.
Carols of Boxhair.
I mean, the excerpt that so very different, you obviously hold her in.
Yeah.
And it's so totally different.
Yeah.
From what you're writing about. as authors, would there still be common themes?
Yeah.
Well, you have feisty red-headed heroines.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your book.
So, Jo in the book is called Jo in tribute to Jo Marsh. And she's a tribute, so she's a kind of feisty, and like Anne, a feisty kind of redhead. And I think probably the setting, like, as you read on in River of Stars, it's really about the island. The island's almost a character. People have described it as being a character in its own right. And so you get that kind of sense of the setting very strongly. So, yeah, and I think that, I mean, we all remember the kind of Gilbert Blythe is the second chance romance, really, because she rejects him the first time round. In their teenage love on the island too, that kind of Anne and Gilbert, yeah, and the way they're quite feisty with each other, and yeah. So there are some things that you would actually read on, you might see.
That's actually nice.
Yeah,
and
so
that
probably are.
That sense of small town community as
Yeah.
well, which I think is something that, and actually I think we both do in our books, is that idea of how do you find a tight-knit community in the modern world where it often seems like such things are impossible. How do you build a kind of pocket of community where everybody is in each business, and isn't there something that needs to be preserved and fought for in the way that you have with the island community?
Because it is very much the community, the island community I live in is very much like a floating village, really. Everyone knows each other's business. So I've really tried to capture that in River of Stars, that feeling that they all party together and they all love each other, but sometimes it can get a bit claustrophobic and a bit. Yeah.
I've got the same with the village, the fictional village in Northamptonshire, and probably nothing. I was hoping you wouldn't start quizzing me on Northamptonshire.
Oh!
I grew up in West Sussex, but I felt like there was a sort of kinship, and it needed to be somewhere that was just about commutable from London, so that it wasn't implausible that she was going up every weekend for various kind of family things. It also needed to be somewhere that felt to Bryony, who was raised in London, she lives in Walthamstow, and that to her would feel like the end of the earth.
But what are you saying? It's a long way from London, is what she's saying.
Also, I'm a big Dave Acaster fan. I feel like he's done a lot for Northamptonshire.
I love
yeah.
Is he? Interesting. Yeah.
And so, although it's not my county, but I felt like there's probably quite a lot of similarities, and I sort of felt like it was an area where I knew it
ends up there answering questions.
Well, this is the homecoming. This is the first time that I've spoken about the book in the
Ask her about that. Just been told off for not using a microphone. Who's I? Oh yeah, he seems to be the only person that can tell you what.
I have to say, people who haven't read it, and I think you're going to buy one and read it, Pre-Loved, which I think is wonderful. I think all four of these books are so good for different reasons, but Pre-Loved is set in a charity shop. We have a charity shop over here.
And I'm gutted I didn't get here early enough.
And it's very, very clever and very different, and I think it's funny and it's great. And all four of them are just terrific reads, absolutely terrific reads. I can't recommend them highly enough, and I can't pick a favourite because I thought The Garlic Girls was my favourite, and then I read River of Stars, and I thought I love this, and then I read that. So I'd like to thank the girls, if you would please. For sale, they will be signed if you buy them. And yes, thank you for coming. And I will let you know when our next event is, and maybe, who knows, it might be David.
And we'll sign them to whoever you want.
Oh yes,
whoever.
Christmas is coming.
I need another Prosecco. Oh, that went loud.